Alrighty. Hello, Dynamite fans. It is Tuesday, September 30th. Can't believe September's over already, but I am here with the incredible David Pepose.
Hi,
David, how are you?
I'm doing great, Amy. Thank you so much for having me on.
And like I said before we went live, thank you again for doing this because I have no idea how busy you are because
Oh,
you
no,
got
no. It's always a treat to be able to talk about the books, and yeah, it's a great way to break up my day. So no, I'm excited to talk all things Space Ghost and Captain Planet with you today.
thank you. But yeah, two series going on at the same time, and Space Ghost now, and this is his second series
Yeah.
from you. So, like, I guess with both series, how's the feedback been so
Oh,
far from?
it's been amazing. I love seeing how positively everyone's been responding to both books. And it's always a risk. It's always you're always sort of rolling the dice when you're taking a nostalgic property like Space Ghost or Captain Planet and trying to modernize them for a modern audience. And so
Mhm.
to see how many people really understand and they can see the vision behind all of this, and to see all the hard work that we've been doing with artist Jonathan Lau and artist Amon Casalos, and just really embrace it and champion it. I think that really means a lot to me as a writer, and I think it really speaks to there's no such thing as a property that can't be polished and shown and introduced to a brand new generation of readers.
I like still even with the new Space Ghost series, especially like it's like our best reviewed series here at Dynamite currently. So I'm like, great job,
Thank you.
just congratulations to like you and Jonathan like on that success.
Well, thank you so much. It really speaks to, I think I got really lucky with having such an amazing creative team on both books. Jonathan Lau is just a one of a kind artist. He's so consistent. He's so talented. He's so fast, and he's able to kind of keep up with the monthly grind. And that's a rarity for an artist staying on a book consistently for as long as Jonathan has. And I think
Mhm.
that speaks to the consistency of a book like Space Ghost. And yeah, I think, and Amon Casalos has also done an equally amazing job over on Captain Planet, really kind of making these characters his own and kind of injecting new life and into, the Planeteers and to Captain Planet himself. But yeah, I think for me, I always try to write visually. I always try to write with,
Mhm.
the idea of what are some cool things that I can give my artists to do. What are the big set pieces? What's something that I can really kind of deliver a comic that shows our artists can cut loose? And so Space Ghost has been amazing that we've been able to really deliver a diverse range of storytelling. We're doing so many done in ones and done in twos, and Space Ghost in particular has such an amazingly deep bench of villains that we're
Mhm.
able to really tell a variety of different stories, whether it's the toy maker who's taken over an amusement park planet, or Tarko the Terrible, who just appeared in last week's issue of Space Ghost, a cryogenically frozen Viking who's wreaking havoc upon the future, to our upcoming issue about space vampires, which is going to be kind of our cool horror tinge story coming up in Space Ghost issue 6. So yeah, it's a treat for me as a writer to be able to kind of dabble in so many different genres on a book like Space Ghost, or to
Mhm.
really kind of double down on one cohesive storyline with a fun team setting like Captain Planet. But yeah, I thought that maybe readers might feel an increased sense of investment on a book like Space Ghost. We had that longer runway, so telling
Mhm.
done in ones and done in twos. Every time we complete a story, I felt that readers might feel a little more invested in our characters, and it's nice to see that gamble is paying off.
Since we have Space Ghost now in volume 2, are we continuing with Captain Planet? Like, because I know number
Oh
6
man,
is the wrap up of this. I don't know if are you allowed
yeah,
to say or
no, we're talking about it. Stay
okay.
tuned. It's one of those things that we wanted to see how the first storyline was received, and
Mhm.
people seem to really like that. Yeah, I know. Amon Casalos, he had another project that he had to step off to complete, but
Mhm.
I think there's definitely some potential there for more Captain Planet. I've certainly got some ideas in the back pocket. So I think it's really just a matter of timing and just a matter of figuring all that out. But
Okay.
yeah, we wanted to make sure that those first 6 issues kind of worked as a cohesive storyline, something that had a very distinct beginning, middle, and end
Hmm.
to serve as this new origin story for
Hmm.
Captain Planet and the Planeteers in the year 2025. So, the challenge of a book like Captain Planet, beyond sort of the plotting elements of it all, because so much of this book is very much a Rubik's Cube of figuring out when do we strategically deploy him, and then when
Hmm.
do we let the Planeteers kind of handle their own problems.
Yeah.
But it's also, an unexpected challenge for me was realizing that the headlines actually get ahead of me on some of these things. There are definitely
Hmm.
elements in this first storyline that when I wrote them last year, I was not expecting them to be feeling like they were ripped from so much from today's headlines.
Hmm.
So that's something that really I want to make sure that any future storylines we do, we're really thoughtful about them, and we're really trying to make them feel as relevant and resonant as humanly possible. So, Captain Planet is a book that takes me a little longer than some of my other work. But I feel like if we come back for a second bite of that apple, we're going to make sure that we deliver a story that's worth telling.
I know I hope that there's a volume two, because like I've been getting like I wasn't the biggest Captain Planet fan. I knew of him, but
Yeah,
getting into this series again, like for newer readers like me, it's so fresh because we're getting to know like all the Planeteers better and
yeah,
how what kind of people they are, and the struggle that they're fighting is like the world's a mess. Like, do we even bother trying to fix it?
yeah, yeah,
And
exactly. You know,
and like you said, it's very relevant for today. I mean, probably any age, but especially today.
Yeah, I've said this before, but Captain Planet is a book that I lobbied uh, across my entire career to write. For my very first book, I had always said that Captain Planet was sort of my licensed white whale, so to speak, and so being able to finally get to tackle that book really means a lot to me as a writer. All these ideas that you're seeing in this storyline are things that I've been kind of percolating on for the better part of a decade, and so. Yeah, it's been really nice kind of like seeing these characters that I've sort of envisioned in my mind for so long,
Mhm.
seeing them on, bringing them to life. And so, yeah, that's something else that I've been thinking a lot about is, now that we have these characters and we sort of established their status quos, thinking
Mhm.
of ways of how we could possibly shake that up for future
Mhm.
installments.
Since okay, so issue number 6 is coming to stores next
This
Wednesday.
week.
Are you allowed to tease anything about it?
Yeah, we introduced Lucian Plunder,
Mhm.
our riff on Loot and Plunder from the original series. He has transformed himself into the villainous Captain Pollution, and he's been wreaking havoc, not just across New York City, but really across the globe. And as we saw at the end of Captain
Mhm.
Planet issue 5, the Planeteers, Wheeler has retrieved his ring. The Planeteers have finally sort of are fully back in action, and they have summoned Captain Planet. So issue 6 is going to be Captain Planet versus Captain Pollution, kind of for all the marbles. But the thing that I think I love even more than sort of the big fireworks is seeing what the Planeteers are going to be doing on the ground. They don't have any powers, but as you're going to see,
Mhm.
they are going to be dealing with a pretty harrowing do or die situation. And I think that's the thing that I'm very excited about with this series is the Planeteers themselves. Their powers are so interesting, but I think it's
Mhm.
their personalities and sort of this drive for heroism, this drive to make the world a better place that makes them so selfless and
Mhm.
compelling to me. And so we're really going to see the Planeteers put their money where their mouth is in this issue. Suffice to say, they're all going to have to step up in a pretty big way. And I'm really proud of how that all came together. But there may be some unexpected sacrifices along the way. So
Oh,
you'll have to definitely check out issue 6 to see how we wrap up this season 1 storyline.
you hear that, everybody? Do you have a favorite Planeteer that you enjoy writing
Oh,
the most?
man.
Or is that too hard a question?
It's so hard because really is choosing between my babies, and a big part of putting this series together was figuring out I need to find something that I like about each of these Planeteers. And
Hmm.
so, I love Wheeler for his sense of humor, but also his flaws and just the fact that he's got so much growing up to do. And I love
Hmm.
Linka. I love her attitude, and I love how just like effortlessly fun she is in kind of any situation, and how she really does kind of steal the show every time the
I
spotlight
love her
is
too.
cast on her. Kwame is so great, just that kind of quiet strength, but also just that ability to kind of stand up when all the chips are down. Kwame's the last Planeteer standing, and we saw that in issue
Hmm.
5. Guy, her sense of humor, and I love how she really is the heart of the team in so many ways, and just that sort of, you think she's naive, but actually she's thought all this through, and
Hmm.
she really has this deep well of conviction. But she's also the kid sister of the team, and then Mati, who really, like, for him, a little goes a long way, and sort of there's that brooding element, but also finding new and interesting ways to explore his powers, and also I think that deep well of not being sure of what his true feelings are. How much of this newfound pacifism is sort of his second chance, and how much of this
Hmm.
is the ring kind of having reprogrammed his life. So all of them have a really fun and compelling characteristic to them. I'd say out of all of them, probably Linka, by a nose. I think she was the character who, every time that I would write something in my outline, and then I would sort of, get to writing Linka, and I would kind of try to think about what she might say in any given situation. And oftentimes the script would shift once I got to Linka, because once I started trying to think of things in her voice, oftentimes a better idea came up. And so it's rare to have characters like that. And I think seeing that kind of 180 from what Linka looked like in the original cartoon to seeing what she looks like now, I think she's the Planeteer's #1 success story.
So cool. I I wanted to point out, like, Mati, who has heart.
Yeah,
I really like how, like, I guess heart can mean a lot of things, but how you see him use this power, like, he gets to know, like, your
yeah,
mind, your soul, like, what's your your shame, your
yeah,
regrets. So that's how he doesn't fight. He fights with really your mind, not physically.
yeah, yeah. It was one of those things that I really wanted to kind of walk the tightrope, because I know the original cartoon, Mati was often seen by fans as a little bit of a punchline, because he was sort of this wide-eyed, innocent, and
Hmm.
people were asking, you've got all these elemental powers, and like, what's the power of heart?
Hmm.
I think a lot of people might have written Mati off as a mascot. And so, that was, I think, the biggest thing for me to crack when I was working on the story was, how do we sidestep that, so
Hmm.
that people really like Mati and are really invested in him? And so I think this idea of the power of heart sort of being something that's affected him profoundly, that he's come from this place of violence, and that he has come from this place of rage and anger, and then suddenly the ring kind of wipes the slate clean, and suddenly he becomes this sort of avowed pacifist, because he sees a deeper truth that the rest of us don't.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, this idea of you in a team of elementals having somebody who's sort of like the Batman, the Shang-Chi, the team telepath, and him sort of being able to leverage that telepathy tactically. That's something that I felt like that's a character you can make a real meal out of.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think there's he says so little, but at the same time, the sort of that stoicism you can kind of see a little bit deeper in there. And I think that also speaks to Amon's amazing artwork for the character. I think, I would venture a guess that if you had to ask him who his favorite Planeteer was, I would bet good money. I bet he'd say Mati.
Cool. I guess before I have another question, I wanted to let everybody
Yes.
who was watching know if they had any questions for David, whether it's
Yeah,
Space
please
Ghost
ask
Planet or
away.
Captain Planet. Please feel free to comment. What because I think a lot of people watch on Facebook
Yeah.
actually. So, but wherever you're watching, if you want to send in David a question, please do so.
Yeah.
Captain Planet and Space Ghost. Do we know how much longer Volume 2 of Space Ghost is going to go?
Yes.
Or
Yes. I've written solicit copy through issue 12 of
nice.
volume 2. So yeah, we do have plans for a whole second year of Space Ghost. And yeah, I would love to do a third year, and we've had some preliminary conversations in that vein.
Mm-hmm.
Suffice to say, there will be some research that needs to be done ahead of the things that I hope we can pull off. So write your congressman, tell them you want more Space Ghost. But yes, I've been loving writing this series. I've been loving working with Jonathan. Um, and I love these characters. I think I've really fallen in love with Space Ghost and Jan and Jace and Blip. And I think, you only get so many books in your career that feel so natural to you, that feel like they really speak to who you are as a person, that speak to the themes of your own life as a writer. And I think Space Ghost is one of those books for me. I think it
Mm-hmm.
really, you never know the alchemy of what goes into it through an editor's mind of this person might be the best fit for this book. But whatever thinking that Joe Rybant and Nick Barucci did to put me on this book, clearly they do something, because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, every time I write this book, it just flows. It really is a book that feels so special to me, and I think speaks to my strengths as a writer, and I think speaks to the things that I like to explore as a writer, both in,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of characters and the superhero genre and sci-fi, but also being able to inject all these different other threads of pop culture into the mix. So yeah, I've been loving this book. I've been loving the response to this book. And yeah, the adventures are coming fast and furious for Space Coast and Company. So definitely make sure you add that book to your pull list.
I think everyone's gonna be really, really happy that hearing that. Like, there's more to come.
Yes.
It's not how it's nonstop adventure. What's been the bigger challenge to write Volume 1 or Volume 2? Like, what's harder, getting it started or keeping it up?
Um, it's funny. I really do feel like it's been actually pretty consistent. In terms of difficulty level. I think for me, I think the hardest part was doing the research. Just
Mhm.
because Space Ghost in particular had, I think, something like uh, 60 episodes, maybe more. Something around that wheelhouse. I counted it out last night and I forgot what it was. But it was a lot of episodes. And for me, whenever I work on a nostalgic book like Space Ghost, that I didn't grow up with, I will rewatch. I'll watch all of the episodes and I'll take detailed
Mhm.
notes and all of that. And so, it takes me about half an hour per episode, just to kind of like write everything down. And so once I mainlined the whole thing from the jump, and so it kind of became like I knew what I needed to do in that first year, and then I had a bunch of
Mhm.
villains sort of like, oh, these things have some kind of common threads. I can't fit it in this Council of Doom storyline, but maybe if we took a second bite at the apple, we'd be able to do that. And that became sort of this Tempest, the Time Master storyline, is that there are a lot of Space Ghost villains that you could see as being kind of either threats from the past or threats from the future, kind of converging on the present. So, yeah, I think for me, it's always been about trying to keep the book consistent. And I
Mhm.
think, when we relaunched it as a new number one, my goal was to kind of keep the book feeling the same as it was, even though we're sort of launching in this brand new storyline, just trying to make a new on ramp for readers who might
Mhm.
have missed the first year but been hearing about the story, and saying, here's who Space Ghost is. Here's who he is through the eyes of his sidekicks. And then kind of continuing to go off to the races. But for me, I
Mhm.
think that the approach for a book like Space Ghost is doing done in one and done in two storylines that build up to something. And we're going to be seeing quite a bit of that in year two between Tempest, the Time Master, who has sort of been operating through proxies at this point, but at some point he's going to get hands on, and also our ongoing storyline with Dr. Henry Contra, who eagle-eyed fans of the original series might know him as the Antimatter Man, and that's going to blow up in Team Space Ghost's face in a very big way, starting in issues 7 and 8. So yeah, it's just been a real treat to work on this book, and I think that's the cool thing about a character like Space Ghost is so many stories fit organically on his shoulders. And so I think that's been a real gift for me. And that's actually, I think, made this book flow so naturally for me, is that I can really kind of bounce around between different types of stories. And I have kind of a sense of what the pacing might look like. So it just means that there's endless amounts of inspiration that I can draw from. So it's really just been, like I said, a real gift of a book for me as a writer.
That's so, so awesome. I'm happy you're happy, and I'm happy that the fans are happy
Yeah,
with
definitely.
both series. So
Yeah. Yeah.
before we wrap, someone sent in a beautiful little comment from Revan Saber. My son
Oh,
and I are loving everything you're writing. Thank you for giving us something we can share. That's so
oh, it's
nice.
my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for reading. Thank you so much for sharing with your son. Yeah, I think if this is the only comment we get today, I'm thrilled with it, because you're really encapsulating, I think, my goal for all the books that I'm working on right now, is that I know that they're nostalgia properties. I know that there are things that, the previous generation or two, grew up with and really enjoy. But the fact that you can share that with, today's readers, that's exactly my goal. I wanted to do a book that can sort of appeal to both different groups. That it's good for veteran readers and diehard fans, but also newcomers as well. So thank you so much for reading. That comment really is like a laser guided strike at exactly what I'm trying to go for this book. So thank you so much for reading, and thanks for making my day.
And thank you to David. Thank you to Revan for watching. Thank you to everybody for watching today. So after this, I hope everyone catches up on Space Ghost and Captain Planet, especially Captain Planet, because again, that finale is releasing next week. And then I believe the next Space Ghost is October.
Yes, that sounds right. That
Mid-October.
will be out October 22nd, I believe.
October 22nd. The Space Coast limited edition covers are on VVR are fire.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Like there's been a lot of great, I think, covers for both series.
Yes.
Like I'm a Jay Lee fan, so I love seeing them, especially
Mhm.
with Captain Planet, like the connecting covers.
Yeah, that was a really
Really
cool
cool.
idea that Jay just pulled off spectacularly. Yeah, I mean, I've been very lucky in terms of cover artists on these books. With Captain Planet, having our Mark Spears cover for issue 1 was amazing, and Chad Harden really kind of took that baton and ran with it for the rest of the covers. Like you said, Jay Lee's connecting covers are amazing. I'm very partial to Christian Ward. He's a buddy of mine, and he's been doing just these amazingly beautiful and atmospheric covers. And then Ben Oliver has been doing just some great stuff, really understanding the assignment on Hot Captain Planet and making him look as scaldingly hot as possible. And on Space Ghost, just doing some amazing work. Jay Lee doing some amazing stuff. Michael Cho, I'm super partial to. I'm so glad that he's back in the fold with us. And Bjorn Barron's just amazing. He's really been just stepping up his game in such an amazing way. Every cover that he's been delivering with this new volume is looking better than the last. And so, yeah, I'm so lucky with all the cover artists that I get to work with on this books. And yeah, so thanks for picking them up. Thanks for anywhere you pick up our books, anywhere you support them is always a huge benefit to us. So yes, tell your friends. We want to get the party started and get more people reading all of these books.
You heard him, guys. You heard him. So I don't think I could wrap this up any better. So thank you again, David, for sitting with me today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Again, congrats on everything.
Oh, thank you.
On all the praise for both series. And thank you to everyone for watching, and go check out those books. Go check out those books. So I guess until next time, which hopefully we'll get a Captain Planet Volume 2.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely have you back on for that.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you again. I hope you have a great day. I hope everybody has a great day. And until next time.